Hey y'all, time to make comments. Today I'm going to be reading the first episode of Boogiepop Phantom. And I gotta say, this episode, even though in some instances it was kind of confusing at times, not too confusing, I gotta give props for it being relatively interesting because, at the very least, while we don't get much characterization for the characters introduced, they give us just enough to make them relatively interesting. Like, for instance, the Boogiepop character, who possesses the body of this girl called Miyashita, and I gotta say, I like how they made her interesting in just a few sequences, because when she's pretty much reprimanding this crowd for pretty much not even coming to the aid of this man crying, and then the sequences where she's the kid is saying that Miyashita's actually in love with you and all those kinds of instances, they make Boogiepop a relatively interesting character just from those small amount of sequences, showing off that yes, she has a serious side to her, but also some kind of a playful angle towards her too, and that she thinks about life to a certain extent when she's like, the life is full of mistakes and all that kind of jazz. So, relatively speaking, while the other characters on the show weren't interesting, Boogiepop relatively carried this episode to a certain extent. And then Takeda, well, this episode didn't make him seem too interesting. He wasn't a deterrent either. At the very least, it showed that he had a good amount of intelligence, because one of his friends, Miyashita, was possessed by Boogiepop, so he bred up on multiple personality disorders, showing off that, for one, at the very least, if a situation arises, he's going to try to be well-read on the situation. So that was pretty cool, too, showing us, at least through subtle means, that our main character is resourceful, or at least he tries to be. So that was another nice element about this episode, even though we didn't really get much out of him, but it's just the first episode. So from a character standpoint, it pretty did decently. From a story standpoint, it did have a situation where this monster seemingly wreaking havoc, but it was taken care of off screen. So from a story perspective, kind of feels jumbled up a bit, but again, that might just be because it's the first episode. And I'd say aside from that, it did introduce some interesting elements though, because it brings up the questions in regards to like Boogiepop, like, is she gonna show up again? Like, what's she gonna do? So, even though it wasn't much from the story, again, Boogiepop, at the very least what she's gonna do next, kind of makes this relatively interesting. And aside from those type of elements, the animation for the opening and ending themes were good, but the animation itself in some instances was either really good, like when Boogiepop was taking on the police officers, or not so good when you see some background animation where sometimes people in the background are moving, or sometimes their eyes or mouths aren't even colored, it's just a face. And especially when it's like, sometimes it's a relatively close shot and it's still not drawn, so it's kind of immersion breaking sometimes, the art. And the animation certainly isn't up to the usual Madhouse standards, so it's probably the only thing that I really didn't like about this episode, but at least the soundtrack and the voice actors and actresses were good, and I did like the music, so that's a positive. And I'd say overall this was a relatively nice package. I mean, story, though, at times, to really get it, you'll have to like really pay attention to it, and at least there was enough for me to at least be motivated to watch the second episode, and I relatively liked what I saw. I'm gonna rate this episode a 5.5 out of 10. I did like what this episode has provided so far. So anyways, guys and gals, these are my thoughts on the first episode. Comment down your thoughts on the first episode below in the comment section. Rate the video. Subscribe if you want to see more reviews and reactions, and I'll see you guys later, because I'm definitely going to be reviewing reactions to episode 2 and possibly 3, and I'll feel out the series. And who knows, I might love it more or I might not like it as much, depending on what the future episodes are like. But for now, it seems like it's trending up than down, so that's reassuring. Alright, guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.